Tonight, Governor Tim Walz teaches J.D. Vance, and who knows whether he will learn. Good gray thus. Good gracious. Audacious, I say hello. Live long and prosper, and here we go. From the mindness at the mystery font, it is live debate. Why they moved away from watching them at that moment was very strange. Strange decision by CBS. Very strange decision. Muting and non-question sharing approved. You can do it, dude. I believe in you, dude. Bang. He's smiling. Ew. Yuck. You are the chaos in the world. That's insane. It will never, ever come. How the fuck would you call that stability? That's what you think strength is. Take him apart. Yep. Yep. Yes. What a fucking idiot. He's trying. He's trying to reality distort. So again, he removed the treaty. False. So, thank you for the little porn moment. Why are you wasting time trying to claim them? So, what are you fucking going to do? This is all signaling. He hasn't said a fucking thing. So, do your job. That was one long promise. Yes. Whether, yes. Idiots. Fuck you. The idiocy of trying to simply erase science in front of a planet is the kind of big lie that Stephen Miller would encourage. This is toxic bullshit. Disgusting. Disgusting. It's malpractice. Holy fuck. He said it was a hoax. Stupid Nazi fuck. Fuck you. We're not asking you about other shit. We're talking about climate change. You're arguing about answering the question. None of that was an answer. He just vandalized the idea of answering the question. He's similar to Donald Trump in that he defaces and defiles things and refuses to honor them, treats them like shit so that people will abandon them. if you really want to. Thank you for that. Top issues? One of the top issues would be the plural agreement. Yes. His Nazi border policies are fucking garbage. You can improve things without going back to a stupid, greedy Nazi. Bullshit. Bullshit. It's a lot of smear. That is not happening. It's a myth, dude. We're asking you. We're asking you. We're asking you! Fuck you! Fuck you! Fuck you! Fuck you! Separated kids! Fuck you! Fuck you, Vance! Garbage! Fucking garbage! You did not answer the fucking question! You answered the question not one fucking scratch! Scratch! Fuck that shit! Jesus Christ. Calm down, Tim. Having an actual fucking Nazi on the stage with Tim Walz is pretty fucking gross. You're holding us hostage, Vance. Constantly smiling, piece of garbage mind. It gives him suffering now. And Vance does not fucking care. Square jaw, happy to lean into that. Fuck you, Nazi! Right. Word. Does he have more than a concept of a fucking healthcare plan? Yes, thank you. We asked a different fucking question. That wasn't the fucking question. That is not the question. You have to answer the fucking question. You have to answer the fucking question. Your shit is the fucking fail. Fuck you. Answer the fucking question. Answer the fucking question. Nazi. 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 Nazi fucking Ku Klux cuck coward. You have not answered the fucking question because you are licking your bloody lips to separate families because you are a fucking Nazi like Stephen M. Miller. By which I mean we should call him M. I don't know what his name is, his middle name is. He didn't answer the fucking question. Make him answer that fucking question! I have to calm down. This is ridiculous. This is a shocking boundary violation. Holy shit. He is a fucking terrorist. He is smiling. Yes. Answer the fucking question. Answer the fucking question. He's not answering any of the questions. Yeah, no, this is great. I wonder if... Got it. Okay. I think I'm aware of where we're at. You haven't... You're a fucking Nazi! And you are demonizing and you're belittling the shit you said. Fuck your Nazi cancer! Fuck your Nazi cancer! Fuck your Nazi cancer! You did not answer the question. Someone needs to slap him across the fucking face. Say that lie one more time, Vance, and someone should crank your face 180. Shut your Nazi mouth! Shut your Nazi fucking mouth! Shut your Nazi mouth! Mute his fucking mic. Shut your Nazi mouth! Shut your Nazi fucking mouth! Fuck you. Fuck you! Fuck you! Fuck you! Fuck you! Fuck you! Fucking hit him! Hit him across the fucking face! When a Nazi shows themselves, show them a fucking fist! Show him a fucking fist! Good! I apologize. I'm a pacifist. But that's an act of violence, and it has to be fucking stopped. He again just tried to dehumanize Haitian immigrants. He again just tried to make a... Well, I just need to say that they're not the same. We just let them... He just endangered that community again. That was a brown shirting. That was Nazi brown shirt bullshit. Unbelievable. We haven't heard Vance answer one question. He's gaslighting us that he has absolute authority, or that on Trump's authority, he is an emissary of Trump's absolute authority to simply say whatever the fuck he wants. Better than I'll keep you in suspense is I won't answer the question. That is fascism. That's fascism. Tim is earnest and confident and very competent, and JD is literally not answering a fucking question and just throwing acid on the idea that he should be accountable. He's not answering the question. Oh my God. Oh my God. I think Tim should say, you know that we're running for vice president and it's not the same as president, right? You're clearly an imperialist, but you won't be able to drive straight through his asshole that fast with your tongue. You're not going to get to president that fast. It's not the same job. You know which debate you're at, right? He still hasn't answered the question. This entire thing is a gaslight. And this is a commercial. Is that true? Peace and security all over the world is total horseshit. That's just like the largest big lie you could swing at. The Trump tax cuts are a fucking disaster. Bullshit. We are under his tax plan now. Word. This isn't an argument. Your Nazi Heritage Foundation gutted the middle class, and you're talking about window dressing, kid. That's furious, pure gaslight. Bullshit. And I think of them as white, and I did it like, what a fucking horrible man. God. What the fuck are you talking about? I mean, Tim is functionally actually speaking with this material that he can talk about intersectionally, functionally. He's a functional, he's a competent person. You're just making, you're just throwing acid. Yeah. Yeah, he's just kind of good at sneering and making insults. Do you know that we're under Donald's tax plan until 2025? Yeah. You don't fucking care. You destroyed us, sir. Oh, please, we have a concept of a plan. 9 years into Donald Trump saying he'd have one in 2 weeks. Word. That was a miss. I think that was an opportunity for him to say, you know, I really was a part of that in my heart, and I wasn't there, and I shouldn't have said that I was. And when I realized that I'd really misspoken, I should have just said. I was there in my heart. I wish I'd been there. I shouldn't have said I was. I apologize. That would have been better, unless you were there. Yeah, no shit. Oh. So God, no genuine bone in his body, and he makes it seem like he's making a disclosure, and it's that, oh gosh, I'm really honest about how I was wrong about he's the great. It was just a geeky, just a cheesy way, and he's never done that. Where have you ever bullshit? Bullshit. I think he's evil. I think he's evil. He's not. The whole thing is cheating. The whole thing is cheating. He almost doesn't answer a question at all. Yeah, essentially. We'd be surprised to hear that that's the thing you agree with him. He's just a sneering mass of insult. Why are you smiling? God. One right makes things better. Yes. Yep. It will enslave women. That's what they did to have slavery, dude. That's what they said about slavery. That's right. It's a basic human rights. Yes. Bang. Watch him not answer the question. Bullshit. You are a fucking Nazi. Answer the question. Answer the question. We don't want your life story anymore. We never did. What is the fucking answer? Because you want to enslave women. We don't trust anyone who wants to enslave women. Nazi. Oh my God. Do you mean choice? No, it's fucking not. Not like this, idiot. We heard that 170 years ago. Yep. Yeah, dude. Yeah, fuck this states' rights slavery bullshit. Actually, it's not radical. And it's not pro-abortion. It allows abortion. And recognizes that abortion is also a natural part of the reproductive cycle, that women's bodies sometimes do that. And that is a thing that the body does to save the mother, to save the body. Okay, did you hear what I said? Did you hear what I said? I said that's not the law. And you're saying, that's why it's. Are you going to shut your fucking mouth? More pro baby and pro family. How does removing making a wild claim about a specific thing in a law that I don't know the specific writing of? What I'm saying is you're making a false claim. It doesn't say that, I mean, yep. Yeah. Yes. That's that wasn't a slogan. That was a cogent statement. JD Vance doesn't have anything. He's willing to lie. He's a psychopath or a sociopath like Trump because he's smiling and he's willing to lie and to degrade. He takes some pleasure in degrading, it seems like. The insanity of how much, yeah. The insanity of just how it really is just it's the shocking boundary violation of I'm going to ignore and forget about what the question even is. I don't account to you. I won't answer the question. JD Vance is just refusing to answer the question and working to insult and destabilize. It's very Trumpian. It's his own version, but he does seem to be a psychopath or a sociopath. There's something going on there in terms of the ability to calmly kind of radiate this he's like always just smiling a bit and to enjoy and calmly lie or to calmly completely fail to mention whether or not you're asked, are you going to separate families, separate children from parents? And he doesn't answer the question. And they ask him again, and he doesn't answer the question. That is fascist insanity. That is like saying, I'll keep you in suspense. No, JD Vance, you will not keep us in suspense. And frankly, we should trust you about as much as we do Trump. The person who said he would keep us in suspense and did, and still has us there. But I think we can recognize, I think it's possible to realize we are being held in suspense. And someone is working to groom to just do whatever the hell they want. Which is to say, I don't have to answer whether or not we're going to separate kids from their parents. I'm just gonna talk about how like Kamala's really bad. Yeah, she's really bad. She's really bad, and I don't have to answer that. Is essentially what he just did. That's truly toxic. That's insane. And it's definitely a death threat, you know, to those families. It's definitely a threat of genocide. And I wish Tim were taking it to him a bit harder. Or there are just some things that are getting missed that seem like good points to make. You are gross. Oh, this terrible stuff. Oh, wow. Oh, wow, wow, what a brave stance. Ridiculous. Totally fucking insane. No guns in schools. Mental health, substance abuse. Mental health, substance abuse. No. No. Not with you, Nazi. No way. They're going to be imitating that on SNL. It's going to be Pass the bill. Pass the bill. He really needs to be like, I'm always kind of shitting on this person. There's definitely the sneer. He takes yeah, you're just being disrespectful. He's working to coerce us to expect to be treated with this kind of disrespect, and that we're going to love this kind of disrespect. Like disregard. I'm pretty sure still didn't. Is this answering the question? Is he answering the question? Where? That's not stewardship. So the shocking boundary violation of just saying her name like it's a weapon against her, as opposed to delivering a fact. These are all little betrayals that we're supposed to just accept. It's a lot of gaslight. Millions and millions of people. If you can't reduce any of it to a sentence, you don't have something. It's not worth saying anything? What a joke. This is nonsense. That's strange. He never came up with a plan. To not have to come up with anything. But it's very popular because it works, at least as well as it does. No, he didn't. That's a characterization. Like you just did. A lot of them are in Project 2025. They're promises. Under mass protest, if you were able to do it. It's wildly popular as long as you say ASEA. Yep, he's crushing you right now. You are being taught. The only actual factual stuff comes from Walz. It's insane. Like, Vance is just bad guy makeup. Mm. Well, once they're born, we don't give a fuck about them, he says. I mean, oops. Just speak. God. He's happy in talking about material in the abstract, but he's not willing to answer questions about draconian shit that they have talked about doing at all. A heck of a lot better. That's just a long promise. It's just lip service. Like Donald Trump? Like Donald Trump? That's the problem. Mm. Oh, it's ask the question. Answer the question in the present. No, that's not all that they said. What censorship? Book banning?
Blue-collar Democrats to have the endorsement of Bobby Kennedy Jr. and Tulsi Gabbard, lifelong leaders in the Democratic coalition. And of course, they don't agree with me and Donald Trump on every issue. We don't have to agree on every issue, but we're united behind a basic American first.
This is insane.
That we ought to debate our differences. We ought to argue about them. We ought to try to persuade our fellow Americans. Kamala Harris is engaged in censorship at an industrial scale. She did
What are you talking about?
She's done it over a number of other issues. And
what are you talking about?
Threat to democracy.
Name one.
Donald Trump said when he said that protesters
bullshit.
On January the 6th.
That's not.
Well, I've enjoyed
that's not.
I think there was a lot of commonality here, and I'm sympathetic to misspeaking on things, and I think I might have with the senator.
Me too, man.
There's one though that this one is troubling to me, and I say that because I think we need to tell the story. Donald Trump refused to acknowledge this, and the fact is that I don't think we can be the frog in the pot and let the boiling water go up. He was very clear. I mean, he lost this election, and he said he did. 140 police officers were beaten at the Capitol that day. Some with the American flag, several later died. And it wasn't just in there. In Minnesota, a group gathered on the state capitol grounds in St. Paul and said, we're marching to the governor's residence and there may be casualties. The only person there was my son and his dog, who was rushed out crying by state police. That issue, and Mike Pence standing there as they were chanting, hang Mike Pence. Mike Pence made the right decision. So, Senator, it was adjudicated over and over and over. I worked with kids long enough to know, and I said as a football coach, sometimes you really want to win, but the democracy is bigger than winning an election. You shake hands, and then you try and do everything you can to help the other side win. That's what was at stake here. Now, the thing I'm most concerned about is the idea that imprisoning your political opponents, already laying the groundwork for people not accepting this. And a president's words matter. A president's words matter. People hear that. So I think this issue of settling our differences at the ballot box, shaking hands when we lose, being honest about it, but to deny what happened on January 6th, the first time in American history that a president or anyone tried to overturn a fair election and the peaceful transfer of power. And here we are 4 years later in the same boat. I will tell you this, that when this is over, we need to shake hands this election, and the winner needs to be the winner. This has got to stop. It's tearing our country apart.
Margaret? Senator Vance, did you want to respond to that?
Yeah, well, look, Tim, first of all,
Tim.
It's really rich for Democratic leaders to say that Donald Trump is a unique threat to democracy when he peacefully gave over power on January the 20th, as we have done for 250 years in this country. We are going to shake hands after this debate and after
it's not
election.
rich.
Of course, I hope that we win, and I think we're going to win.
Why was he held up watching the insurrection? Why was he watching the insurrection proceed? He presided over an insurrection.
2016 said that Donald Trump had the election stolen by Vladimir Putin because the Russians bought like $500,000 worth of Facebook ads. This has been going on for a long time. And if we want to say that we need to respect the results of the election, I'm on board. But if we want to say, as Tim Walz is saying, that this is just a problem that Republicans have had, I don't buy that.
Governor.
January 6th was not Facebook ads. And I think of revisionist history on this. Look, I don't understand how we got to this point. But the issue was that happened. Donald Trump can do it. And all of us say there's no place for this. It has massive repercussions. This idea that there's censorship to stop people from doing threatening to kill someone, threatening to do something. That's not censorship. Censorship is book banning. We've seen that. We've seen that brought up. I just think for everyone tonight, and I'm going to thank Senator Vance. I think this is the conversation they want to hear. And I think there's a lot of agreement. This is one that we are miles apart on. This was a threat to our democracy in a way that we had not seen. And it manifested itself because of Donald Trump's inability to say. He is still saying he didn't lose the election. I would just have said, did he lose the 2020 election?
Tim, I'm focused on the future. Did Kamala Harris censor Americans from speaking their mind in the wake of the 2020 COVID situation?
That is a damning non-answer.
It's a damning non-answer for you to not talk about censorship. Obviously, Donald Trump and I think that there were problems in 2020.
I did just talk about censorship.
I'm happy to talk about it further, but you guys attacked
No,
us.
you just failed to answer. Ladies and gentlemen, that's gaslight. That's Nazi gaslight. Point to your right and say that's gaslight, Tim.
Right to misinformation. Kamala Harris wants to use the power of government and big tech to silence people from speaking their minds. That is a threat to democracy. That
No, she doesn't.
This present political moment, I would like Democrats and Republicans to both reject censorship. Let's persuade one another. Let's argue about ideas, and then let's come together afterwards.
You can't yell fire in a crowded theater. That's the test. That's the Supreme Court test.
Tim, fire in a crowded theater. You guys wanted to kick people off of Facebook for saying that toddlers shouldn't wear masks.
Senator, the governor does have the floor.
Fire in a crowded theater. That is criticizing the policies of the government, which is the right of every American.
Senator, the governor does have the floor for 1 minute to respond to you.
Yeah. Well, I don't run Facebook. What I do know is I see a candidate out there who refused, and now again, and this I'm pretty shocked by this. He lost the election. This is not a debate. It's not anything anywhere other than in Donald Trump's world. Because look, when Mike Pence made that decision to certify that election, that's why Mike Pence isn't on this stage. What I'm concerned about is, where is the firewall with Donald Trump? Where is the firewall if he knows he could do anything, including taking an election, and his vice president's not going to stand to it? That's what we're asking you, America. Will you stand up? Will you keep your oath of office, even if the president doesn't? And I think Kamala Harris would agree. She wouldn't have picked me if she didn't think I would do that, because of course that's what we would do. So America, I think you've got a really clear choice on this election of who's going to honor that democracy and who's going to honor Donald Trump.
Governor, your time is up.
Bang.
Gentlemen, we will be right back with both of
Crushed.
the CBS News Vice Presidential.
Crushed. 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 And now I think I don't know that I think I just need to probably move over and watch Bosch at this point. That seems like the best course of affairs. I definitely don't want to watch an ad for CBS.
Do have a threat to democracy in this country, but unfortunately,
I will never stop repeating this as long as it's legal for me to do so, which might not be the case if Donald Trump wins this next election. This should be like you get let out of here in handcuffs. You cannot run for the highest office in the land while openly promoting the end of its democracy. Like, I'm sorry, man. There's got to be a limit. We're paradox of tolerancing this all the way up to the peak. You know, you can't do that. You're literally just saying, like, yeah, I want to do sedition, but, like, you know, legislatively. Fuck you. No.
it's not the threat to democracy that Kamala Harris and Tim Walz want to talk about. It is the threat of censorship. It's Americans casting aside lifelong friendships because of disagreements over politics.
That's not censorship, actually, at all. That's freedom of association. That's a different thing. You're thinking of a different thing. Censorship is when the state prevents you from saying something, usually for political purposes. What you just described is like not having a friend. I know that's a big problem for conservatives.
it's big technology companies silencing their fellow citizens, and it's Kamala Harris saying that rather than debate and persuade her fellow Americans, she'd like to censor people who engage in misinformation. I think that is a...
I would.
That's not what she said.
He's like conceding the point. He's like, she'd like to censor us,
Nobody
she's lying.
wants to
I would
censor
like to.
people. What are
She's
you
a pussy.
talking about?
What are you gonna do?
much bigger threat to democracy than anything that we've seen in this country in the last 4 years, in the last 40 years. Now, I'm really proud, especially given that I was raised by two lifelong blue-collar Democrats, to have the endorsement of Bobby Kennedy Jr. and Tulsi Gabbard, lifelong leaders in the Democratic coalition. And of course, they don't agree with me and Donald Trump on every issue. We don't
JD Vance, listen carefully. When they ask you about your open contempt for democracy, you are going to filibuster like no one has ever filibustered before. You are just going to say anything and everything that comes to your mind. You are going to just verbal diarrhea your way to the end of the time limit of the question. And if she asks you to clarify or answer the question again, you do it again. You will never stop.
Have to agree on every issue, but we're united behind a basic American First Amendment principle that we ought to debate our differences. We ought to argue about them. We ought to try to persuade our fellow Americans.
Please don't correspond.
Engaged in censorship at an industrial scale. She did it.
I want to be on the other side.
She's done it over a number of other issues, and that to me is a much bigger threat to democracy than what Donald Trump said. When
it sounds insane, but the reason he talked about lifelong friends no longer speaking because of politics is because genuinely one of the biggest radicalized
Can I do that?
a lot of right-wingers is the
There we go.
friends. I've said this before, but this is the reason why whenever you hear somebody say, you shouldn't lose friends over politics, it's always a right-winger. And they're fine if their life just contains no conservatives. It's completely fine for us, genuinely. For the vast majority of liberals and leftists, if they woke up and they no longer had to interact with a conservative ever again, it would probably be a net benefit of their lives. But the miserable, wretched, hateful, the parents who never get calls from their children, or the grandparents who never do, the co-workers you have who are abrasive and rude and mean and then probably go home and day drink until they pass out on the couch, those people need you in their lives because you're the only good part of it. And if that sounds mean, it's true. If you're a Republican, you're a worse person than a Democrat. On average, flattened down, if you normalize the other factors, you are a worse person. You are, on average, and this is statistically demonstrable, more immoral and stupider. And there's no, and denying that fact is denying reality. It's all true. It's not subjective.
he said that protesters should peacefully protest.
So
on
of
January
course
6th.
they're mad about people dropping friends over
I've
politics.
enjoyed tonight's debate, and I think there was a lot of commonality here, and I'm sympathetic to speaking on things, and I think I might have with the senator. But
me too, man.
There's one though that this one is troubling to me, and I say that because I think we need to tell the story. Donald Trump refused to acknowledge this, and the fact is that I don't think we can be the frog in the pot and let the boiling water go up. He was very clear. I mean, he lost this election, and he said he did.
Yep.
140 police officers were beaten at the Capitol that day, some with the American flag, several later died. And it wasn't just in there. In Minnesota, a group gathered on the state capitol grounds in St. Paul and said, we're marching to the governor's residence and there may be casualties. The only person there was my son and his dog, who was rushed out crying by the state police. That issue, and Mike Pence standing there as they were chanting, hang Mike Pence. Senator, it was adjudicated over and over and over. I worked with kids long enough to know, and I said as a football coach, sometimes you really want to win, but the democracy is bigger than winning an election. You shake hands, and then you try and do everything you can to help the other side win. That's what was at stake here. Now, the thing I'm most concerned about is the idea of imprisoning your political opponents, already laying the groundwork for people not accepting this. And a president's words matter. A president's words matter. People hear that. So I think this issue of settling our differences at the ballot box, shaking hands when we lose, being honest about it, but to deny what happened on January 6th, the first time in American history that a president or anyone tried to overturn a fair election and the peaceful transfer of power. And here we are 4 years later in the same boat. I will tell you this, that when this is over, we need to shake hands this election, and the winner needs to be the winner. This has got to stop. It's tearing our country apart.
Margaret? Senator Vance, did you want to respond to that?
Yeah, well, look, Tim, first of all, it's
Yeah, well, look,
First
Tim.
of all, maybe don't cheat by sending 50 trillion migrants to vote in the election that we never accuse you of cheating. Have you thought of that?
Rich for Democratic leaders to say that Donald Trump is a unique threat to democracy when he peacefully gave over power on January the 20th, as we have done
Just
for
rewriting.
250 years in this country. We are going to shake hands after this debate and after this election. And of course,
He peacefully gave over power, you know, after the violent attempt failed. Oh, yeah, like that guy, well, I mean, he did try to, like, kill you, but after he missed the shot, you know, he was very, very demure, very modest.
I hope that we win, and I think we're going to win. But if Tim Walz is the next vice president, he'll have my prayers, he'll have my best wishes, and he'll have my help whenever he wants it. But we have to remember that for years in this country, Democrats protested the results of elections. Hillary Clinton in 2016.
Incorrect. They did not lead an insurrectionary mob to the Capitol.
Never.
For one, and for two, they didn't protest. Hillary Clinton accepted the results of the election right after it happened. She
Word.
bitched about it, but she accepted it. She did not contest the validity of the election.
Word.
Said that Donald Trump had the election stolen by Vladimir Putin because the Russians bought like $500,000 worth of Facebook ads. This has been going on.
Russia objectively attempted to interfere with the results of the 2016, 2020, and now 2024 elections. We know
Yeah.
they've done this. It's a fact. It's been demonstrably proven.
Yeah.
Whether or not they made the difference is, you know, anyone's guess, really. But it is a fact.
On for a long time. And if we want to say that we need to respect the results of the election, I'm on board. But if we want to say, as Tim Walz is saying, that this is just a problem that Republicans have had, I don't buy that.
Governor.
January 6th was not Facebook ads. And I think a revisionist history on this. Look, I don't understand how
January 6th was not Facebook
the
ads.
issue was that happened. Donald Trump can do it. And all of us say there's no place for this. It has massive repercussions. This idea that there's censorship to stop people from threatening to kill someone, threatening to do something, that's not censorship. Censorship is book banning. We've seen that. We've seen that brought up. I just think for everyone tonight, and I'm going to thank Senator Vance, I think this is the conversation they want to hear. And I think there's a lot of agreement. This is one that we are miles apart on. This was a threat to our democracy in a way that we had not seen. And it manifested.
Look, you stand against our democracy here, sir. You stand against our democracy on this.
Tim, I'm focused on the future. Did Kamala Harris censor Americans from speaking their mind in the wake of...
Again, like, let away in handcuffs.
What a disgusting... Let away in handcuffs. Yep. Word.
I guess,
let away in
a
handcuffs.
Very, like, inept and weak and liberal way, there might be a difference that one could, you know, make an argument for. I think
Where's the Secret Service?
Way, what J.D. Vance is doing here, what Donald Trump is doing here, what they have been doing for a while, is more dangerous to our government than January 6th is on its own, or 9/11 was to the towers, the Pentagon. There was no attack Iran could fire against us. There was no attack anyone could fire against us that could match the potential danger of openly seditious, contemptuous of democracy individuals running the country. It is a it's like you are limited here because there are people who only see this in terms of, well, did they brandish a gun? But I would argue this is a far greater form of violence. And of course, the like obvious demonstration of that point, of that argument would be, okay, go back in time, you're looking at Adolf Hitler. What actions did Adolf Hitler take that would have warranted you, you know, murking him as a time traveler that weren't acts of explicit violence? Obviously, the vast majority of the shit that Adolf Hitler did, that we condemn him for in retrospect, was stuff he did through the artifice of legitimate government. It wasn't even a matter of him, like, being unpopular. A lot of the Germans liked him because they are, as we are now, fucking stupid.
He's an election denier.
To biases, easily impressed by grandiosity. It's just, it's so obvious, man.
Of the 2020 COVID situation.
That is a damning non-answer.
It's a damning non-answer for you to not talk about censorship.
Censorship? What about Facebook, Twitter? What about Twitter Remember when the FBI asked Twitter to ban some people and Twitter did it and Trump did the exact same thing? That was just like when we do the Holocaust too. It's exactly the same. Okay, it's gonna be like 2027. They're gonna be building the camps for brown people. And when they get criticized by the last vestiges of liberal media, they're gonna be like, oh, so you don't like authoritarianism now. But when Joe Biden was banning accounts for lying about COVID, where were you? Fuck you.
Obviously, Donald Trump and I think that there were problems in 2020. We've talked about it. I'm happy to talk about it further. But you guys attack us for not believing in democracy. The most sacred right under the United States democracy is the First Amendment.
Tim Walz does look like
yourself
he's
have said
contemplating
there's
choking
no
him out.
First Amendment right to
Yeah,
misinformation.
right.
Kamala Harris wants to use the
threatening,
power
hate
of
speech.
government and big tech to silence people from speaking their minds. That is a threat to democracy that will long outlive this present political moment. I would like Democrats and Republicans to both reject censorship. Let's persuade
Bullshit.
one another. Let's argue about ideas, and then let's come together.
Cringe internet brain bullshit. Of course, by the way, worth reminding that Donald Trump did the exact same request.
What
the
friendship
Trump
censorship
administration
are
did
you
the exact
fucking
same
talking
request
about?
For, takedowns, accounts being banned, all of that. Literally, remember the Twitter files after pedophile Elon Musk took over Twitter? And it was like, oh, look at how evil Jack Dorsey and Biden were in censoring people. And that one Twitter file came out, and it was like, yeah, you know, the Biden administration censored some people, and also the Trump administration did too. In fact, Trump did it more. Okay. And then after that, the guy who wrote that Twitter file, for some reason, had a falling out with Elon Musk. You remember that? I don't remember the guy, but after that, they didn't get along as well.
Afterwards.
You can't yell fire in a crowded theater. That's the test. That's the Supreme Court test.
Tim, fire in a crowded
Was
theater.
it Matt
you guys
Taibbi?
wanted to kick
Yeah,
people off of
I might have been.
Facebook for saying that toddlers shouldn't
Senator,
wear
the governor
masks.
does
That's
have the
not
floor.
Fire in a crowded theater. That is criticizing the policies of the government, which is the right of every American.
Senator, the governor does have the floor for 1 minute to
Please.
respond to you.
Yeah. Well, I don't run Facebook. What I do know is I see a candidate out there who refused, and now again, and this I'm pretty shocked by this. He lost the election. This is not a debate. It's not anything anywhere other than in Donald Trump's world. Because look,
I wish Tim would have said no.
made that decision.
You need to tell us if you're going to follow the terms of service now. Part of the job
Do you trust the election
is
process?
not trying to destabilize elections.
I'll let you know in about 33 days. Yeah.
Like, genuinely, it's the fact that this doesn't earn you a trip to the bottom of the deepest hole is like genuinely. What could you?
That's true. It truly is villainy. This is new.
It's insane.
It's truly insane. It's truly insane. It's a shocking boundary violation.
By that election, that's why
It is
Mike
insane.
Pence isn't on this stage. What I'm concerned about is where is the firewall with Donald
Yeah.
Trump?
Trump wanted to remove ABC's broadcasting license
Where
after
is
the
the
Kamala
firewall?
Harris debate. Oh God, I didn't even see this. After he lost the debate with Kamala Harris, still fuming just hours after the late.
Yeah.
An election, and his vice president's not going to stand to it. That's what we're asking you, America. Will you stand up? Will you keep your oath of office, even if the president doesn't? And I think Kamala Harris would agree. She wouldn't have picked me if she didn't think I would do that. Because
Right.
of course that's what we would do. So America,
course.
I think you've got a really clear choice on this election of who's going to honor that democracy and who's going to honor Donald Trump.
Governor,
Yeah.
your time is up. Thank you, gentlemen. We will be right back with both of our candidates. The CBS News vice presidential debate continues.
Can it stop? Can it stop? Can I be free? Can it be over? I can just catch up to live because we're... See, that's the benefit of pausing.
Closing statement. Senator Vance won the virtual coin toss and elected to go last. So, Governor Walz, you are first. You have 2 minutes.
Well, thank you, Senator Vance. Thank you to CBS News. And most importantly, thank you to all of you. If you're still up and the folks who miss Dancing with Our Stars, I appreciate it. But look, the support of the democracy matters. It matters that you're here. And I'm as surprised as anybody of this coalition that Kamala Harris has built. From Bernie Sanders to Dick Cheney to Taylor Swift, and a whole bunch of folks in between there. And they don't all agree on everything, but they are truly optimistic people. They believe in a positive future of this country, and one where our politics can be better than it is. And I have to tell you, that better than it is the sense of optimism that there can be an opportunity economy that works for everyone, not just to get by, but to get ahead. And the idea that freedom really means something. Not the freedom of government to be in your bedroom or exam room, but the freedom for you to make choices about yourself. Now, we all know who Donald Trump is. He's told us, and as Maya Angelou said, believe him when he told you that. His first inaugural address talked about American carnage. And then he spent 4 years trying to maybe do that. Senator Vance tonight made it clear he will stand with Donald Trump's agenda. He will continue to push down that road. Excuse me. Kamala Harris gives us a different option. Now, I'll have to tell you, I'm going to be careful about the quotes, but there's one that Senator Vance said that does resonate with me. He said, Donald Trump makes the people I care about afraid. A lot of America feels that way. We don't need to be afraid. Franklin Roosevelt was right. All we have to fear is fear itself. Kamala Harris is bringing us a new way forward.
I'm very educated.
She's bringing us a politics of joy. She's bringing real solutions for the middle class, and she's centering you at the heart of that.
How did I miss the end of this?
Join this movement. Make your voices heard. Let's look for a new day where everybody gets that opportunity and everybody gets a chance to thrive. I humbly ask for your vote on November 5th for Kamala Harris.
Governor Walz, thank you. Senator
Governor Walz is going to list the age of consent in all 50 states to the tune of that one Animaniacs song.
Vance, your closing statement.
Well, I want to thank Governor Walz, you folks at CBS, and of course the American people for tuning in this evening. And
did I say Governor
Walz?
Walz?
Talk about was energy. And
he
I
wouldn't
remember
do that.
when I was being raised by my grandmother.
J.D. Vance would do
when
that.
she didn't have enough money to turn on the heat some nights because Ohio gets pretty cold at night, and because money was often very tight. And I believe, as a person who wants to be your next vice president, that we are a rich and prosperous enough country where every American, whether they're rich or poor, ought to be able to turn on their heat in the middle of a cold winter night. That's gotten more difficult thanks to Kamala Harris's energy policies. I believe that whether you're rich or poor, you ought to be able to afford a nice meal for your family. That's gotten harder because of Kamala Harris's policies. I believe that whether you're rich or poor, you ought to be able to afford to buy a house. You ought to be able to live in safe neighborhoods. You ought to not have your communities flooded with fentanyl, and that too has gotten harder with because of Kamala Harris's policies. Now, I've been in politics long enough to do what Kamala Harris does. She stands before the American people and says that on day one, she's going to work on all these challenges I just listed. She's been the vice president for 3.5 years. Day one was 1,400 days ago, and her policies have made these problems worse.
That is not the job of the VP. I keep having to say this, but I just want to make sure everyone watching know the president and the vice presidents are actually different jobs. Maybe J.D. Vance doesn't think that because he's been assured that Trump will probably keel over 6 days after the inauguration and he gets to be president. You know, like Heritage Foundation was like, yeah, no, don't worry. He's pretty old, but...
Now, I believe that we have the most beautiful country in the world. I meet people on the campaign trail who can't afford food, but have the grace and generosity to ask me how I'm doing and to tell me they're praying for my family. What that has taught me is that we have the greatest country, the most beautiful country, the most incredible...
I'm sorry, wait, that was just like an impressively low bar to set. I meet people who are struggling with finances, but they're still nice enough to ask me how I'm doing. So you just met people. What? I feel like you could get that like anywhere. Like there are better arguments you can make for.
He's a psychopath, man.
I think America actually does generally have a pretty good people. Like we're known for being a friendly country.
He's a Nazi.
So it's just I don't know. It's just like a remarkable undersell. Honestly, I mean he's a lizard person, so I don't know.
single people anywhere in the world. But they're not going to be able to achieve their full dreams with the broken leadership that we have in Washington.
Listen, America's a good country. He's met people who could barely afford to pay for groceries, and they said to him, in spite of all that, can I take your orders? And that's the reason why he thinks America's the greatest country in the world.
Not going to be able to live their American dream if we do the same thing that we've been doing for the last 3.5 years. We need change. We need a new direction. We need a president who has already done this once before and did it well. Please vote for Donald Trump. And whether you vote for me or vote for Tim Walz, I just want to say I'm so proud to be doing this, and I'm rooting for you. God bless you, and good night.
Senator Vance, thank you.
I'm rooting for you.
For participating in the only vice presidential debate of this election cycle. I'm Margaret Brennan.
And I'm Nora O'Donnell. And a reminder, there are just 35 days until Election Day.
I know. I'm aware. Well, I think Tim Walz did a good job. I think that he was largely quite friendly and conciliatory, which makes sense. As satisfying as it would be to me for him to call J.D. Vance a pedophile, I think it's probably a little bit more in line with his marketing, let's say, for him to be very nice. And I think it worked out pretty well. I think he genuinely did a good job with that in terms of like balancing the pushback while also being like very nice, because that's kind of like one of the big selling points, right? One of the big arguments from Kamala Harris's campaign, one of their big like rhetorical selling points is the idea of, you know, aren't you tired of the constant hate and misery and fear-mongering and such? Don't you want like nice people, neighborly people to be running the country? So it makes sense in that context that he would be, you know, friendly. So I have no issues whatsoever with that. He was a little bit nervous at first. By him, I mean Tim Walz. J.D. Vance isn't a person.
Yes.
And he worked it off pretty quick. I mean, that's normal. That's to be expected. Keep in mind that, like, Tim Walz has never really operated on a platform of this size. So it makes sense that he would, you know, like, you got to shake that off. I mean, I've debated plenty of people, and you still sometimes at the beginning you're like, what's my angle? And then you go into the rhythm and you're fine. So that was good. I mean, I think that J.D. Vance did. I think J.D. Vance did maybe slightly better than I expected in terms of his handling. I still think that the biggest runaway clips from this are probably going to be him saying, but I thought there was no fact-checking in this debate. That was the deal! And him refusing to answer whether Donald Trump lost the 2020 election.
That's massive.
Those two are probably going to be like the runaway bits. I don't think at any point J.D. Vance got a zinger. Or you know,
I don't know why they didn't
like,
hold him to it.
Walz at one point did say he's befriended school shooters, which was very funny. What he meant to say, of course, was he's befriended like victims or the families of the victims of school shooters. So that's, I mean, that's
school shooting victims.
That's pretty funny. I enjoyed that. I also do like the fact that Tim Walz at multiple points there dove in with what I'd consider to be relatively radical positions on housing and healthcare. It seemed like he was leaning in pretty hard towards the logic of the single-payer system. Where it's like, okay, having a public option is a good concept, but in practice what that means is that the corporations are going to structure their insurance policies to ensure they're only going to be insuring people who are like, you know, 28 years old, 11% body fat, they go on a run for 20 minutes every morning at 6 a.m., you know, and which means the government is going to get stuck with people like me, and that's going to cost the government a lot of money and make insurance companies a lot of money, which is fucked up and wrong and a bad and inefficient system. So single payer makes more sense there. And he specifically called out, you know, companies like BlackRock that treat housing like a commodity to speculate on, which is the main reason housing prices are really being driven up, you know? Like, ask yourself, when you go to your local downtown commercial area and you see the dozens and dozens and dozens of shops that you grew up visiting that have now been shuttered, places that are just plain closed, and a lot of them have been closed for years now. I mean, you go there and it's like a graveyard. Why? Think about it. Somebody owns that land. Somebody's paying property tax in that land. Why are they not renting to anyone there? Like, think about it, really. Why is it in your local downtown area, why are there so many empty buildings taking up space, not generating any revenue, any income, not paying taxes, not paying rent, not paying... Why? You know why? because gigantic multi-billion-dollar companies, sometimes domestic, sometimes foreign, buy up that land and they hold it because the more scarce land is, the more they can piecemeal sell it off at, you know? Or they're waiting for a big buy. If land gets scarce enough, then eventually some other company might be like, oh, you know, you bought all this land in downtown that you've been squatting on for like 2 million or whatever. Now you're going to sell it off for 200 million. They're hoping for that big payday. And they can't like lease it in the meantime because that would increase the availability of housing or of business space, which drives down the price. Does that make sense? So in essence, the world is getting worse and like 5 people are profiting from it. We are talking about like...
It needs to be illegal
about,
to hold empty space.
Margins of profit that are being experienced only by an obscenely small number of people. And everything is getting worse because of it. So I'm glad that Walz brought that up. Altogether, I think it was a pretty good debate.
Yeah.
For the most part, people don't pay as much attention to VP debates, though this, I think, is a relatively high profile.
Yeah, no shit. Perhaps...
You know, this is definitely not like a...
Perhaps the most ever.
You know, people care
really
with this one, I would say.
Yeah.
And we might not get another presidential debate. So this is what it's like watching Bosch co. Okay, Croker23, you want attention, that's fine. I'm willing to give it to you. Holy shit, Walz is throwing this shit. I'm afraid Trump's gonna win after this performance. Walz looking cooked, I'm sorry, it's true. Yeah.
What?
Bosch, does it make you angry that Walz is totally deferential to Vance? Croker23, a reference, I assume, to the year you were born. I know that, like, maybe this wasn't, I don't know, this wasn't enough to like hold your interest or your attention, and you have to create narratives to stave off the boredom. Please don't do that at the expense of my brain cells or others. I'm looking at a chat message from them yesterday. If we take the Durkheimian concept of religion, how is it even useful? It describes every ideology, explicitly religious or otherwise ever. What society does not fall within its bound? This MF doesn't even understand the Durkheimian model of religiosity. I'm sorry. I thought this individual, maybe they had something going on up here. Man can't even read his Durkheim. It's not even... Get out of my chat. Get real. Go get your sociology degree.
Led away in cuffs.
Wax Newman, you want to join him? That's what I thought. Okay. Yeah, altogether, I would say this could have gone significantly worse, which is, you know, maybe not like the highest bar to clear, but I do like it when things don't go as bad as is humanly possible. This is probably going to be the last debate we'll see because it's unlikely Trump will proceed and do another debate with Kamala.
Walz kind of crushed it at the end.
He got stomped the first time.
Kinda.
So that might genuinely be it. It's literally just now.
Kinda.
And now we're on a, 35-day death march.
Crushed it at the end.
Until it's time.
Walz kind of crushed it at the end.
Yep. 5 weeks. It's not good. It's like a coin flip. Bosch, I'm kind of surprised how optimistic you are after the debate. Yeah, my motives and perceptions are...
To target the failure to confirm Trump's...
Even though Walz was on point with his rhetoric, he didn't seem very relatable to the median voter. His reaction to rhetoric pretty well. Meta Knight, I'm going to have to pull this one out, and I feel bad using it because I feel like I'm actually being very patronizing. What you need to do is you need to brew yourself a fresh cup of joe, and you need to go sit on the porch and look out at the sky. Okay? You need to take a sec. All right? Wait, what time is it? I can have coffee whenever I want because I have ADHD. decaf for you. Maybe you also have ADHD. You are in my chat.
Gaslight.
You know,
Total gaslight.
you got to take a look at that. You got to look out. I have autism. Does that count? Yeah, sure.
Just
All right, time for me to read donos. To everyone who's watched this, by the way, thank you very much. I hope that I have provided commentary that you found interesting, insightful, and occasionally entertaining. I try my best. I know I paused the video, but you got to talk. If you can't talk sometimes over it, you talk past it, whatever. You pause the video. I do the best I can. If you're watching right now and you are not subscribed, I would humbly ask that you do so, because it would make me happy. And I think we can both agree. Like, that's a moral win right there, making me happy. So give it a go if you can. You know, give it a shot. Give it a try. No harm, no foul. Right? You get me. Just realize that I've had the very top of my polls obscured in my webcam view.
win-win.
For
Win-win. All
I
right.
just looked in a poll
I think.
and I realized the top of it was obscured, so I just pulled down the other.
I think. Where are we headed here?
I'm very smart. Wonderful. Oh, I also saw this, by the way. This is maybe a reactionary opinion of mine, so I apologize for that. But I still have to say it, you know. I still have to say it. And it's... Okay. I'm overwhelmingly pro-bicycle.
Word.
But why is it that every time I see a bicycle accident or collision or some fuck up, like literally every single time, and it's always someone right behind them as a camera or whatever, so it's like, I don't know if they're fishing for fish or what. Why is it that bicyclists never stop? You literally never stop. You have to stop sometimes. You literally never, they will continue going forward at the same speed and die doing it. Like, you have to stop. I know it takes more effort to move. That's tough. Or to get moving again. Look at this. So this car like pulls to the left.
I don't think I want to watch. I think I'm going to thank Vosh. I'm out. No. Well, this watching interesting. Très intéressant. Well, I think I may watch some other commentary, but I'm not sure. I think it's maybe best to tell me, Tim, what do you think about tonight's debate? Well, Tim, I think did pretty well. Yeah, Tim did pretty well. What do you think? What do you think about Vance? I think, well, Tim, I think you definitely were pretty emotional, and it was kind of intense. There was some real visceral reaction to the wanton gaslight, the incredible, noxious falsehood, but for sure the treasonous need to hold and withhold to withhold acknowledging that Donald Trump lost, and to hold the right to level us, rather than leveling with us, and being like, how dare he? How that would be my question. How dare he do that? Because I think Vosh is right there. That's unacceptable. That's, you push for the Secret Service to come to the stage. And they do. And they say, you have 2 minutes to leave the stage. Oh, that wasn't your final answer? Okay. Please explain yourself. Why are you threatening to flout the terms of service? You're applying for a job, and you're telling us that you are going to attack portions of the job by deciding not to adhere to them, and essentially attack the presidency. And we have a whip happened the last time your pal was anywhere near the office. It's abject gaslight, and that was a threat. That was underlining Trump's threat. There's no way they're coming back to do anything but Project 2025, including Agenda 47 and all the parts of Project 2025 that they didn't write down to share. He just told us that. He just told us, I will not take the time to even refuse to answer about whether we're going to how we're going to separate families, and whether we're going to do that and how that's going to be done. And when asked again, I will refuse to even basically acknowledge. I will use it as a pivot in both cases to simply make ad hominem attacks and insults and claims, analysis, negative analysis. Okay, but like insulting, throwing acid on. But most of all, throwing acid by not answering the most basic question about, I mean, it's a rational thing. I want to make sure focus is fairly decent. It's a rational thing to ask. It's a rational thing to ask him about. They've called for the largest deportation ever. How are you going to do that? Isn't M going to be involved? How are you going to do that? Because I'm not mistaken. I'm sure the commentators were thinking, is M going to be involved? Like, is that a thing that maybe M might be involved? Could possibly, maybe, so never know, M be involved? Z's. Z's. The world may never know. The world may never know who has donned the falsehood. I wonder if M might know. Well, that's interesting. To see the actual, I mean, that was a psychological attack. To hold loyal to Donald Trump above the United States in that debate. that's what Vance did. He aligned himself with Donald Trump above the United States. It's insane, and Vosh said it well. Led away in handcuffs. Led away in handcuffs. Or lead. Did I spell it lead? Led. Anyway, I can only assume that M is watching. You know, it's always wise to just do what we can to not shit the bed of democracy. And when we see the influence of M in the normalization and minimalization of family separation, the trivialization or the attempt to do so, that's straight up Nazi dehumanization that he is working to perform. It's so clearly alliant and adherent to the bandwidth of Stephen Miller, who is known all over Earth as M. And I think it's good to be aware that we are dealing with, in terms of M, and in terms of some other folks, such as Trump, Marjorie Taylor Greene, and it seems tonight pretty clear J.D. Vance, that we're dealing with really depraved people. That was a depraved attack. That seems like we are dealing with M. And that I don't think Vance is going anywhere on this ticket. Although I think we should be aware that M would be a likely stand-in or person next in line. That's maybe more dangerous even than Donald Trump is, who Donald Trump would choose or allow to do his immigration policy. And there maybe could be worse Mengelas, I don't know. But M is a Nazi and a white fire Ku Klux Klan terrorist. It's really scary to see the abject the abject Darvo explosion and falsehood that comes from M. It's almost as if M might be the falsehood after all. I keep thinking that if it's anyone, it could be Donald Trump. But I don't know if anybody's thought of that. I mean, everybody gets called a liar. And I think that would be a shard of what I fear is happening. In terms of, I think it's clear to folks who aren't necessarily hoodwinked the level and deadly nature of how Trump lies and the scale, and that he cheated and attacked everybody with January 6th. That we're all victims of his. And that he dosed us on purpose for 6 weeks after being warned. So what happened with COVID and all of that collapse is all down to him. We could have had 100 cases and squelched it, but he let us walk around saying, oh, I don't want to cause a panic, behind closed doors, while saying, hey, we're fine, nothing, no big deal, after being warned on January 28th, 2020, that it would be the security threat of his presidency. And by someone who had just come from a long-term post in China, this is real, it's massive. He told us it was fine and no big deal for weeks and under control. And by the time he was saying things like, it'll just blow away in the sun, it was way too late. And he knew it. And M knew it. And it's time for the kind apprehension so that we can make the goat escape. That's right. It's good to have that Scoop Troop. Good to have that. It is good to have Scoop Troop, that Darwell card handy once in a while. We want to foster the goat escape through genuine manifestation of the kind apprehension. Because people making bloody threats of revolution need to be brought to therapy or some kind of health care or the authorities of some kind. We need support when people are making threats like, well, we don't need to, essentially threats, yes, indeed. It is seditious. There genuinely was seditious stuff happening on that stage tonight from Vance. I think that's true as far as what I heard Vosh say. And that's a decent point. To be brought to the mark, having, with the president having just teased that, oh, maybe I realized I lost by a whisker. And then again showing us, oh, that was just me jerking you with my handshake while I stand upright, and you're like, whoa, and shocking boundary violation. You are still in suspense. Am I insane? Am I just using the possibility that the football is going to be kicked? No. It's a constant siege. And the idea that this is what protection looks like is a protection racket. He's not a protector. He's a predator. And Vance just seaguiled for him, for sure. That was failure to address incredibly important stuff. And truly seditious. That's insane. That a candidate would gaslight, oh, I don't need to talk to you about, are we proposing family separation? I don't need to talk to you about how does that happen. I can actually just kind of calmly make really dumb, not terribly thoughtful insults during this time when I have a chance to level with the American people. And there's a ton of lip service to, well, this is really important to me because I ... times were hard ... Okay, then, I really hope people will hear my voice. Speak. Say. what you will say without needing to qualify it. You are the witness we have come to hear. You know, we also want to hear this other chap. But back to you, who just said you refuse to answer the question. I'm glad that Walz called that a damning admission, whatever that was. Damning, at any rate. Truly. And it's a shocking boundary violation. It's meant to coerce and to simply say, we do this, and as if you just get to say that and coerce that that's the way it is, and because you have a chiseled job, people are like, oh, get out of the way. Are you kidding? Again, he attacked democracy tonight. That was definitely seditious, insurrectionist, treasonous nonsense from Vance in some very specific moments and ways that are where it erupts and becomes plain. That was criminal. And I don't know why they weren't ready for it at that level. In terms of you're asking that question, why were you not, why was CBS not prepared to say, okay, we're extending by 15 minutes? What do you possibly mean you're going to look forward? No, OJ, we're here today for your trial. So you want to look forward is a fine sentiment, but there is a trial. You know, you want to come back to the place where you pooped in the soup, chef, and you want to get hired again here where you pooped in the soup before? And you're angry that there's employment interference now, and you're kind of not really letting the lens slide over to like exactly what the Mother Falcon happened to allow us to feel justified at saying we do not want your soup. So that's truly disgusting. And the gaslight of the censorship thing, that straw horse, that the censorship thing is absolutely nonsense, because he's playing on the sense that reproach that right-wing people call censorship is censorship. That to tell someone, don't say that. You know, I don't like it when you, that's censorship. Or to not like a certain kind of comedy is censorship. Like, if you don't think that book banning is censorship, but you're vaguely talking about some kind of, I don't feel like I can say, do you mean you feel like peer pressure and like if you want to talk about stuff, we can talk about stuff. But what does that have to do with, do you know what censorship is? And if there's something else that you want to talk about, like we can do that. But censorship definitely is not working to combat misinformation. It certainly could be that. Anyone can engage in censorship, or could use the guise of protecting us from misinformation to sow misinformation. That's a danger. You know, like nuclear reactors are dangerous, but they're worthwhile. Them needing training and specificity and experience to make work in the long term without people getting cancer from it and stuff. Like, some things are difficult. not to say there aren't standards and that mistakes don't count or things like that, but there's also just a general whiff of like the kind of vandalism that J.D. Vance and neo-Nazis or whatever they call themselves. To me, I see a Nazi. I see a Ku Klux Klan member, and a man who is a patriarchal terrorist, happy to remove no-fault divorce so women will be slaves, especially in a world where the states' rights thing of to give it back to the states is very, very much a high five to the Klan as well. And to try to, like, it's like a slogan, it seems to me, that there's some element of that. And it's hideous. I think J.D. Vance is a pretty deeply corrupted human being to be able to say those things. There's no reason to sow that kind of contempt and display that kind of contempt and open seditious intent. There's no positive reason to do that. You don't make that plan without the plan to run it. Vance is definitely a Nazi and definitely seditious. That is my sense. And I don't say it lightly. And it's not a pleasure to use that word. It's not a pleasure to use any of those words in terms of accusation. But it's not hyperbole, it's not unwarranted to raise these flags. And it is time for the comprehension to see that those are cries for help. And we say no. No one tells us they're going to tell us at the time. Absolutely not. And no one who did a violent insurrection tells us, oh, well, we're going to look towards the future and not talk about whether... Are you fucking kidding me? You ridiculous fiend. That was a shocking boundary violation. That's grabbing our pussy and saying, how do you like that? Oh, yeah, well, you know, I mean, come on. You came here, right? Why would you come here if you don't want my hand right there? Oh, come on. That is a shocking boundary violation. That is, I get to do this. This is the world. Fucking eat it. That is coercive and premeditated attack. That is far, far right, extremist, fascist attack. I'm glad that I didn't see all of Bosch's feed, but I'm glad that he spoke of handcuffs. Talked about sedition, because it is. And that's a breach that Donald Trump opened up that other people are now poking through with less effort because he showed them how. And they do have to be stopped and pushed back through the breach, which is sealed back up with trust in human family and truth, justice, and the American way and stuff. For real. It's sealed up with trust. It's sealed up with rules and laws and things that stop people from weaponizing the inability to see corruption as corruption upon people to sow power. We are facing gaslight there in Vance, from a forward author to Nazi Kevin Roberts Heritage Foundation Project 2025 book. It's dangerous to normalize Vance, but I think Tim Walz did a decent job of showing just respect for the person you're debating without, I don't know. Because the difference between civility in the discussion and anger, or the willingness to say that's shocking or that's damning, or we are miles apart on this. That was maybe the softest of them all, but he said some really important things. Walz did. And I hope we realize that we need to see Vance not as reinforcements of something worth entertaining, but as a desperate gasp to try to extend a reality distortion field of legitimate strength that is totally corrupt and made of rapists. I think it's good to be aware that J.D. Vance and Project 2025 are sending us poisoned wool blankets. And the shocking boundary violations of saying, oh, we just want to focus on the future, when asked, do you realize, will you right the wrong of the past? Will you admit to your mistake? And you say no, or you refuse to even honor it with a refusal. That's insane. It's truly, truly the level of disrespect and contempt for Americans. Again, it looks very much like Stephen M. That imprint of such caustic, toxic malice that it's unmistakably blood-curdling. I mean, that's part of it. Let's see. Watch for shocking boundary violations meant to destabilize and terrorize. Have you confidence in me to give me the watch? The first con artist, who is called Con Artist, got the name because he asked, would you have confidence in me to lend me your watch until tomorrow when I will return it? And a politician asks, actually, to take the watch, to hold the watch overnight, to be the one, in fact, who presides. But one who is nefarious doesn't honor the terms. And incredible that they push it and say, well, oh, what time will I bring you the watch tomorrow? I'll keep you in suspense. Oh, check your watch, and whenever you see your watch, you'll know it's time for me to deliver your watch to you. Ha 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 ha. That doesn't seem super trustworthy. But shocking boundary violations coerce acceptance, coerce submission. And the more ridiculous the falsehood, or more insane the shocking boundary violation of degrading someone or punishing them or treating them like human garbage, the more intense the shocking boundary violation of a lie or the shocking boundary violation of terrible abuse, that is massively destabilizing. And that Eucharist of taking that, swallowing that, it leads us to Donald Trump's miracle of his cult, which is that he takes truly horrifying things, just like he makes the unbelievable swallowable and believable, he makes the unforgivable and unthinkable doable, and then, because it was done by Trump, made holy and invisible or erased from badness, or it's okay because, and in that way he sanctifies and is greater than God because he can make evil tolerable. We are with someone who, what I'm saying is, values degrading someone, including making them eat it, make them feel pain and punishment and loss and rupture and be conquered because he doesn't want to win. We're not going to get tired of winning. Winning hasn't really happened. But to be conquered as part of the fabric that was friendly to him yesterday, but now, no one is safe with a dark triad narcissist, with a malignant narcissist. And we should figure out if it's not amongst them, someone might know who the identity of the falsehood is, who has been casting this mysterious web of hokum. I really think that M or Donald Trump might know who has done the falsehood. It's tough. I mean, we don't have much to go on. But we know we want to be aware of brown shirts, and we want to be aware of people like a Nazi like Stephen Miller, like M. Nazi M is dangerous. A Nazi like M, we need to be aware of these people, just like we need to be aware of a Nazi like J.D. Vance. And just should be aware, of course. That Project 2025 is bringing us poison wool blankets. And in the fashion of Donald Trump's, in the fashion of his projection from early on in the campaign, really from the golden staircase, golden escalator speech, where he scapegoated immigrants from the southern border, or from Mexico, I should say, and said, different thing. And where is that? There we go. Is that it? Yeah, like that. I think that would be what we need to come away with from tonight. J.D. Vance is a dangerous, dangerous man. And certainly a willing student of Stephen Miller. And so let's be aware of what they're bringing. Let's be aware.